Most people, when asked what's important in their life, will say it is their family or their loved ones. People generally have a strong sentiment for their near and dear ones and will go to great lengths for them. This has, of course, many benefits, not least it ensures that parents care for their children. However, expressed negatively, this sentiment can manifest as nepotism and favoritism. So what exactly is a sentiment? Sentiments are feelings or emotional attachments towards certain people, places, or things. A sentiment has been described as an idea coloured by an emotion. Sentiments are powerful and can be easily manipulated to justify exploitation of one group over another. For example, politicians, corporations, and advertising agencies often use sentiments to override people's rational thinking in favour of emotional appeal or narrow agendas. This is particularly evident during election time when sentiment-based advertising and promises are used to woo gullible voters. According to the philosopher and mystic Sri Prabhat Ranjan Sarkar, there are four main sentiments that have motivated and shaped human society. They are geo-sentiment, socio-sentiment, human sentiment, and neo-humanism. Sarkar contends that the first three sentiments have created feelings of us versus them in our world, and that they have played a major part in the exploitation of one group over another. Geosentiment is when people have a strong attachment for a particular geographical area. For example, in early human societies, people felt that those who lived on one hill were their family, while those on another hill were their sworn enemies. Geosentiment leads to the feeling that one group of people has the right to exploit the resources of another group, or that one part of the earth is more sacred than another. It fosters parochialism, tribalism, and nationalism. For thousands of years, geosentiments have motivated imperial conquest, border disputes, and struggles to control resources. In the present day, they continue to dominate international politics and sport. A classic example of this would be the struggle for the city of Jerusalem, which is held to be sacred by three different groups. Socio-sentiment is a more expanded idea than geosentiment. Here, our group sentiment is not limited to a particular place, but expands to people who share with us some characteristic, idea, or belief. We may feel that members of our religion, race, or political beliefs are all members of our group, but others are outside and can be exploited. Racism, sexism, classism, and xenophobia are all examples of socio-sentiment. Socio-sentiment has provided the justification for countless devastating conflicts and wars that even today tear at the fabric of human society. Socio-sentiments are the underlying issue in the fight between different religious groups such as Protestants and Catholics or Hindus and Muslims. They give rise to wars between different political ideologies such as capitalism and communism, and all kinds of exclusion and rejection of people who look or act differently from ourselves. As humanity evolves beyond limited geo and socio-sentiments, we reach the sentiment of humanism. Humanism is the idea that all of humanity is one family. The idea of democracy is born from humanism, where power no longer rests with monarchs or religious rulers, but, in theory at least, belongs to all people. Organizations such as the United Nations are based on a humanist worldview. In many ways, humanism is a very expanded idea, but it still has shortcomings. Importantly, where do plants and animals and other life forms fit into the scheme of things? Remember, animals and plants do not need humans to exist, whereas humanity is dependent on the natural environment. So what comes after humanism? Sarkar's fourth and final sentiment is universalism, sometimes called Neohumanism. The sentiment of neo-humanism is not limited to any group because nothing is excluded. Neo-humanism is the spiritual feeling of unconditional love for all of creation, humans, animals, plants, the environment, everything. Here we're able to experience our inner spiritual self as an expression of the one infinite self or divine consciousness. This is the feeling that saints and mystics of every culture and religion have come to experience through deep introspection. The development of neo-humanism is a process of continually expanding the radius of our love and benevolence. So it's not a matter of giving up love for others, but rather increasing the scope of our inclusion. Neo-humanism also depends on the development of rationality in balance with sentiment. We use careful understanding and ethical decision-making to determine the best path for all, rather than simply relying on sentimental views. Irish historian William Lecky understood the idea of neo-humanism nearly 200 years ago. In 1876 he wrote, "At one time the benevolent affections embraced merely the family. Soon the circle expands to include first a class, then a nation, then a coalition of nations, then all humanity, and finally its influence is felt in the dealings of man with the animal world." To develop neo-humanistic consciousness, we need a practical, consistent endeavour, both personally and collectively. On a personal level, we need deep inner realization gained through consistent spiritual practice or meditation. However, in this inner search, we cannot hide from our role in society. We must also embrace a commitment to selfless service, which includes fighting against injustice and exploitation. Neo-humanism means finding a balance between physical, mental, and spiritual development without neglecting any part of our being. Collectively, neo-humanism requires focusing on the importance of the collective good without neglecting individual rights. Each individual must be seen as being precious and unique and having an existential value, even if that person, plant, or animal has apparently a low utility value. At the same time, the collective good must always be paramount. This universal sentiment, neo-humanism, helps to inspire people in their fight against exploitation. It will keep humanity united, ensuring the welfare of all.